Now, if you clicked on this video, you're probably thinking one of two things. One, oh my god, what is this guy talking about? The Torpedo is the best car in the game. It's so rare. It's so... Or two, finally, someone that actually believes me. The Torpedo isn't that great. And if you're that person, I love you. All right, now let's actually talk about why this car is not that great. If you're one of those people that actually go online thinking that the Torpedo is the best car in all of Roblox Jailbreak, please get the fuck. Yes, it has good value, quote unquote. Yes, it has good, I don't know, like rarity. The beam hybrid's rare, but like, you know what I'm saying? It's just, I think this car is just purposefully here just for show. I don't think it's that great. I don't think it's even that good looking. I think it's just straight up a flex car, and that's what it's meant to be, but we'll talk about that later in the video. First off, we're going to talk about the acceleration of the car. It's actually pretty okay until, I mean, reaching 100 is pretty all right, and then when it reaches around the 150s, 170s, it's kind of getting kind of mediocre, especially with the ratio with turning and the fact that you have to turn and like try to control and handle the car, which is not that great, but we'll get to that later. Next, we're going to talk about the top speed. Everyone loves, quote unquote, the top speed of the Torpedo, saying it's like 300 something. I don't fucking know, dude. The top speed of this car is almost unreachable. You are never going to reach that top speed that everyone says unless you're like doing a speed track from the main city all the way over to the what do you call this? The creative city, yeah. Unless you're trying to actually do that. Quickly, let's talk about the reverse speed. That's the reverse speed. It's pretty all right. And for those of you that don't believe me, level 5 engine, right? That was the reverse speed. Nothing much to it. It's pretty average, mediocre. Let's talk about the brakes. So I'm gonna go ahead and speed up and brake. I mean, I don't think it's that bad, but I started braking at like a little bit behind the cactus. I don't know. I'm not too sure. I'm not gonna remember that. And for those of you creepy weirdos who like to go in the water whenever there's like a cop or a criminal chasing you, I don't know. Here, I'll show you the underwater speed too, I guess. Yeah, so satisfying. It's going maybe 90s, 80s. Yep, that's pretty cool. The handling wise of the car, I mean, it's pretty normal. Like once you're at normal speeds, like 150, 140. Skids a lot though, but then of course when you reach up to like 200 and maybe somewhere around there, it is gonna become hard to control. Like you see that it just kicks around a lot, and like if we're just zooming around, it's so hard to control because no matter how hard, what the everyone that wants to know about the Torpedo asks people who have the Torpedo what's the top speed, and everyone says like 300. I don't think top speed should be used as a sense unless you reach that top speed and it's actually like possible to reach it. With cars like Beignet, Roadster, Proto A, all of them have a top speed ratio where you're actually able to reach around that top speed. Torpedo, you're almost never going to reach the top speed. It just keeps accelerating until like 300 something, but you're never going to reach that top speed because of handling and all that, yada, yada, yada. If we're talking about top speed, make it so that you're talking about how fast it is to reach that top speed as well, or just average it in short, medium, and long-term tests and Now, I know there's going to be a lot of people around there saying, oh, it was pretty close to the Beignet and the Torpedo. But when you put it into logical, actual sense and terms, playing the actual game with the Torpedo is different than actually doing speed tests with the Torpedo, if that makes sense. Let's say you're going from the jewelry store to the jewelry store to like the museum. You're gonna reach there with the Beignet faster because of one, its handling, two, its acceleration, because you're just not gonna need a top speed like the Torpedo in that scenario. I believe, and I think most people should believe, that acceleration is way more important in this game than top speed, unless you could reach that top speed like Roadster or like a Proto 8. And a lot of people say, oh, the Javelin and the Torpedo are completely the same thing, they're just different models, and Javelin's a little bit slower. I don't fucking care, bro. They basically are the exact same. Javelin, though, does 100% have faster acceleration and just feels way more comfortable to drive with its better acceleration and its better handling. And then, of course, you gotta bring in terms like which team to use certain cars on, because I made videos before on why like the Roadster, Proto 8, the Concept are good on the cop team, but the Beignet, Javelin, like Molten, Chiron are good on the criminal team. That's because of things like acceleration. Acceleration is needed on the cop team, when on the criminal team, max speed, reaching that max speed is way more important. So if you use the torpedo on the criminal team, sure, I'll understand. I'll get it. It'll make kind of sense to me. But if you use this thing on the cop team, on the cop team, what are you doing? Some actual good cards that you should use on certain teams. I'll leave like a video link thing on the top right of the screen right now, which you should actually click on and actually see which vehicles to use on which team. The torpedo here is what I like to call a display car. I like to think of there as two different car classes: display cars and usable cars. Display cars are going to be cars like the Torpedo, the Megalodon, the Brulee, the Beam, maybe the JB8, maybe the Arachnid, like the Rattler, maybe even the Icebreaker. Those are all examples of quote-unquote display cars, and I like to call them display cars because they're strictly there for display. You should not be using these cars unless like you want to flex or like show off your best car and like values and like trading. Then we have actual usable feasible cars: the Molten M12, the Beignet MCL 36, the Celsior, the Shell, which I love, the Javelin. Those are all examples of actual good cars, as well as the, you know, the Voltbike, Roadster, Chiron, yada yada yada. I think display cars and actually usable cars. And display cars, like I said, just there for value, flexing, and just for trade and stuff. And actual good cars are actual cars that you should be using in game to actually have fun and get good, you know? Yeah, so that was the sum of this video. I hope it helps you guys realize that the Torpedo isn't really as great as it's meant to be. Because when you compare it to other cars like the Beignet, because Javelin, Wotan M12, the Chiron, the Roadster, the Protoway, they just are so much better than this car. It doesn't matter about the top speed aspect. Just take that out of your minds, because you're never going to reach that 300 top speed. I don't really care for after you reach 200, you're going to have a crazy good acceleration that's constant all the way to 300. It's because once you reach that, there's a very high chance of you crashing because the handling becomes really uncontrollable then, and you're just gonna have to brake and restart that scenario. And I know there's gonna be a few of you that are gonna be saying, oh my god, no, I'm really good at driving, yada 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 yada. Shut up. No, it's almost impossible to control this thing unless you brake and drift, and even then you still lose speed. That's why cars like the Beignet are better to use, especially on the criminal and cop team, because you can actually brake with that thing, drift with that thing, and then gain back the speed that you had maybe in like 1 or 2 seconds. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Hopefully you guys actually understand now that this is a display car. Nothing more, nothing less. Thank you. See ya.